Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's Wacky Wednesday, and on Wacky Wednesdays, we tell wacky stories or true stories. You decide if the story I'm telling you is a wacky story or if it's a true story or if it's just something I made up and something that I read about or something like that. Let me know in the comment section down below. And then tomorrow I'll come back and I'll let you know if it's a true story or if it's a wacky story. But before we get into that video, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up and leave some comments down below. Subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to ring the little bell next to the subscribe button. That way you guys know every time I upload a new video. So yeah, this story takes place in Virginia, in a small little town. And in that small little town, there's a cemetery. And near the cemetery, there's a beautiful big house which belongs to Sarah and John. Sarah and John have a daughter and a son. Their names are Stella and Brian. And one day they're riding home in the car, coming from a beautiful, having a beautiful day, going to a baseball game and having hot dogs and enjoying the day. So they're on their way home, and it's like sundown, you know, it's time, the sun is going down, so it's getting a little darker out, and they're riding by, and to get to their house they have to, of course, pass the cemetery, which is walking distance from their house, literally a few feet away. So they're driving home, and on the drive home, the dad stops at a stop sign. When they stop at the stop sign, Stella looks over, you know, looking out the window, and she looks at the cemetery, and she sees a woman there, and the woman has her hands buried in her face and she's crying. But the woman has like a vintage, very, very old outfit on, kind of like the 20s, like a big long dress, fluffy, and you know, she has like a feather in her hair, and she looks like sort of out of place. And she goes, mom, do you see what I see? And the mom looks out the window and she whispers something to the dad, and they're like, just don't look over there, that she's probably crying about someone in her family. She goes, okay, and she looks the other way, and the mother and father are whispering things in the front, and Stella doesn't really know what's going on, but she hears something about the lady. And so she doesn't ask pretty much any questions because it's her mom and dad when they just ride home. So the next day, you know, Stella wakes up in the morning and she runs downstairs after her, you know, she runs downstairs and eats her breakfast. And after breakfast, she goes outside because her grandmother is planting in her garden. She has like a beautiful rose garden, and she's planting, you know, and working with her garden. So Stella loves to do that stuff. So she goes outside and she's talking to her grandmother while her grandmother is working on the garden. So there, as she's talking to her grandmother, their cat Mittens comes out, and Mittens is the grandmother's cat, and she goes outside, but she only goes outside to the garden part when the grandmother's out there. But Mittens doesn't ever leave the grandmother's side. Like, she won't leave the garden part of the house. She never has. She's an older cat. She's like 6 years old, and she's always gone outside, but just to the garden part. Like, she always goes out and comes right back in when the grandma comes, so she doesn't go anywhere. So Mittens comes out to the grass, and Stella is petting Mittens, and then, you know, they finish the garden work and they go back inside. The day passes and nothing's strange about the day. Everything is normal. But the very next morning, the grandmother goes outside and she's looking for Mittens, and Mittens is like nowhere, and she's like, Mittens, where are you? Mittens, where are you? And Stella comes out and she's like, what's going on, Granny? And the grandmother tells her that she hasn't seen Mittens since yesterday when they were in the garden. So she goes, well, maybe she's inside hiding somewhere. So she helps her grandmother look for Mittens all over the house, all over the basement, the garage, everywhere, and they can't find the cat nowhere. Like, the cat is basically hiding or missing or not around. So the grandma's, you know, she's had that cat for 6 years and she really loves her cat. So she's like, we need to find her. So they start putting like little posts and stuff all over town of the cat that's missing. Anyway, a few days pass, and again they're driving. She's driving with her father, and it turns out that there's, at the same place where she saw the woman crying, she sees Mittens there on top of the tombstone. So she goes, Dad, there goes Mittens. So they pull in and they go inside the cemetery, and when they look, Mittens was on top of the gravestone, but she was dead. And she had a sign on her, and the sign said, don't look at the lady with the white feather. So they felt, you know, the parents were whispering upon each other, and Stella just started crying, and she was really sad, and she says, how are we gonna tell Granny? So they went back to the house and they told the grandmother, and the grandmother was really upset, especially when she heard about the sign that said, don't look at the woman with the white feather. A couple of days passed by, and then one day, you know, they wake up in the morning and everything is fine, and then they can't find their little brother. And the little brother is like 4 years old, so they're like, oh, where is, you know, the baby? Where is he? So they're looking for him. He's not in his bed, he's not outside, he's not in the basement. And Stella, who's 11 years old, gets that feeling in her stomach, and she's like, Mom, where is my baby brother? They're looking everywhere and they can't find him. They get the cops involved, they can't find him, and apparently the cops ended up finding him at the same gravesite. He is sitting down on the gravesite, but he's tied up, and he's in that gravesite, but thankfully he's alive. He's tied up, and they take everything off of him, and they ask him, what happened? Who took you? You know, and he says, the lady with the white feather took me. So they take the baby, they bring him to the hospital, he's okay. They go home, and the parents, Stella tells the parents, and like, what's going on? Why does this keep on happening? And finally the father and the mother tell the grandmother. The story is that the lady with the white feather in her hat is always there crying over her husband, who's buried there. Her husband was killed in a car accident by a drunk driver back in 1923. And she is just devastated, and anyone who sees her there crying ends up losing their husbands, their sons, their daughters, their animals. Anybody who sees her crying suffers in their life. So they're very afraid now, because they're like, if they took our son and they killed our cat, we're so worried. So they end up moving out of that house far away into another state, to get away from the woman with the white feather in her hat. And that's the only way to get away, is to move away and disappear, because then she can't find you. I would hope that you guys never see the woman with the white feather in her hat crying. Anyway guys, that's the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you think this is a wacky story, or if you think this is a true story, in the comments section down below. I will let you guys know tomorrow if it's true or if it's wacky. I love you guys so much. Thank you guys for watching, and I see you guys in my next video. Bye.